In the early 1990s, momentous change was gathering in South Africa. It will culminate in the end of apartheid and the election of one of the most respected leaders the world has known.
The 1994 election is called a miracle for several reasons, and one of them is the period over which it was organized. Because I joined it in January, and in April we delivered an election. So it was almost impossible. And I think part of the reality of it, behind the scenes, was support from the Commonwealth and other similar multilateral institutions.
Your struggle, your commitment, and your discipline has released me to stand before you today.
If you remember, there were those long queues, that were like, meandering. Early in the morning, people were there, It was unbelievable. It was a human experience that I knew I would cherish for the rest of my life.
One of the voters that day, filled with hope, excitement and dreams of freedom in a new South Africa, was Sibongile Ngomezulu from Soweto.
Ngathi siyovota sasivotela ukuthi kuzoba ne-change for thina abantu, kube ne-change yento eyiningi, kungabi nokubandlululana thina futhi bantu abamnyama, ngoba nathi bantu abamnyama sabandlululana. Uyabona, sibandlululana ngani? Omunye uya ngestandard somunye umuntu ukuthi mina ngifundile lo akafundanga, bese wena ungafundanga akubhekele phansi ukuthi wena hayi uyisilima o awuhlakaniphanga. So mina bengivotela ukuthi mhlawumbe yonke into izoba equal, yonke into izofana, ofundile ongafundanga sonke sifane. Uyabona, sambe kwilevel yonke efanayo.
For Sibongile's granddaughter, commuting from her home in Soweto each day to her job with a shipping company in the smart Johannesburg suburb of Sandton, the end of apartheid has undoubtedly brought greater opportunity.
I feel that I am far better off compared to my parents. Now I can move freely. I can go about anywhere and anyhow I like. I can study whatever I want. I can work if I want to. I can be a stay-at-home mom if I want to. Most importantly, I don't have to go around carrying my ID. Because you can outright ask me who I am and I'll tell you, and I don't have to produce a document that proves that this is who I am, which is what they were being subjected to in the old days.
A sustained campaign by the Commonwealth against apartheid contributed significantly to South Africa's peaceful transition to a non-racial democracy. In the early 1990s, the Secretariat deployed a number of observer missions to help combat political violence and subsequently to assist and support the historic 1994 elections. Stuart Moore was a member of the Commonwealth team that saw Nelson Mandela elected president. It is the largest and one of the most diverse groups of election observers the Commonwealth Secretariat has ever deployed.
Well, I think if you look back over the decades of apartheid, I would say that the Commonwealth's contribution was a pathfinder, a trailblazer in terms of developing new ways of impacting the apartheid regime and influencing that regime, and to mediate, when allowed to mediate between the various parties.
The participation of the Commonwealth is part of that assertion that South Africa is part of the world, because under apartheid we were like a pariah state. In fact, one of the pressure points was the issue of boycotts of South Africa. Sanctions. That's really what gave rise to the momentum of the 19s, because it means that the Commonwealth, of course, all these nations around the world, I think, were standing firm that apartheid has to fall. So their participation in the 1994 election, I think, was a great victory for the Commonwealth, for the ANC, for the people of South Africa, and I think for democracy around the world.
Well, I think I was conscious that history was being made, but at the same time, there was always the fear that history would turn out very badly for South Africa, rather than as it finally did in what was a generally harmonious election and transfer of power.
More than a quarter of a century after the South African miracle, election observation continues to be a mainstay of the Commonwealth's pursuit of a more democratic, diverse, and inclusive world.
We as women, we are less afraid, we are less boxed in. Right now, we as women, we are entering into spaces, whether they like it or not, whether it's possible or impossible, we are going through those spaces.
Election observation is in a constant state of evolution, requiring innovative responses. This commemoration of 40 years of Commonwealth electoral observation and electoral support is thus not only about celebrating past achievements, it is also about looking to the future. It's about how we evolve, respond, and innovate to remain relevant. Member countries and citizens want us to support ever-rising standards in electoral integrity. We all must demonstrate commitment to our fundamental values and principles. The Commonwealth Secretariat looks forward to 40 more years of successful election observation and promoting transparent, credible, and inclusive elections.
History shows you the period that the Commonwealth has spent nursing along the South African democratic revolution to ensure that it really matures and it becomes this light, in Africa, that from the worst situation, you can move to the best situation.